The authorities in Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, say 4 people were killed and a dozen injured in repeated Russian drone attacks. Residential buildings were hit, including a 14-storey block. 3 of the dead were rescuers who'd rushed to the scene after a previous attack. Meanwhile, proxy Russian officials in parts of Ukraine occupied by Moscow say Ukrainian attacks have killed 3 people, 2 in the Kherson region and 1 in the city of Donetsk. The Russian FSB security service has just claimed the suspects in the Moscow attack were heading towards Russia's border with Ukraine. Let's speak to our Eastern Europe correspondent Sarah Rainsford now, who's in Western Ukraine for us. Sarah, what more do we know?
Well, the authorities are saying this was a very significant drone attack on Kharkiv. This was 21 drones launched by Russia, mainly at the city of Kharkiv itself. The spokesperson for the military administration there has just told us that only 4 of those drones were intercepted. So that is a lot of drones reaching their targets. But among what was hit, as you mentioned, there was a 14-storey apartment block and there was another residential building. Now, 1 civilian, 1 woman was killed, and also what Ukraine is calling a cynical and targeted attack. They're saying that 3 rescue workers were killed when they headed to the scene of one strike to try to help people there who were trapped beneath the rubble of their home. Now, we've seen the names and we've seen the photographs of those rescuers. They're being remembered by the authorities here as heroes. They say that they were devoted to their mission. They describe them as heroes without weapons. And it's not the first time that this has happened, that rescuers have headed to the scene of a drone strike or a missile strike and then they've been killed themselves. And in this case, in fact, there was a father and son who was in the rescue team. The father was killed, and then there's some extremely sad pictures, of course, of the son at the scene where his father has just been killed, and him, of course, in floods of tears. There are damaged rescue workers, fire engines that are very badly damaged at the scene as well as images of the apartment block that was hit, very badly damaged balconies and several apartments destroyed.
Sarah, the subject of military aid to Ukraine is at the forefront of the meeting taking place in Brussels today, the NATO meeting. How do recent events highlight the urgency of the need for support for Ukraine?
I think the call that you hear more and more often here in Ukraine is a call for more air defences. I mean, Kharkiv itself is just 40 kilometres from the border with Russia. The attacks by drone and by missile are constant. In fact, right now there's another air raid alert underway in Kharkiv, the threat of ballistic missiles, according to the local authorities there. So we were there last week. You know, there are constant air raids. They never stop. They last for hours during the day. So people are living in this constant sense of nervousness and fear that there is going to be another attack. When a missiles fired from Russia towards Kharkiv, there's very little time for air defences to respond. But what Ukraine says is they just don't have enough of those air defence systems in order to shoot down what's being launched against them. And as you see in this case, the vast majority of the drones that came both from Russia and from occupied territory in the south of Ukraine, the majority of those on this occasion did get through. And in many cases, they're targeting the energy system, the energy infrastructure, leaving huge numbers of people in Kharkiv without power for hours and hours every day.
Sarah, thank you. Our Eastern Europe correspondent Sarah Rainsford there.